Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to my channel. Today's video I'm going to be talking to you about all the books I have DNF'd and whether or not they deserve a second chance. Over the course of these past 4 years that I've really gotten back into reading, I have had a total of 9 DNFs. I think that's actually pretty good considering the amount I've read over this time. So as I'm showing you each book, I'm going to give you a brief synopsis of the book, and then I will tell you why I DNF'd them and whether or not I will give them a second chance. Quick little disclaimer before we begin this video. I mean no disrespect to people that have read this book. I mean no disrespect to the authors. It's just a personal thing. Like, I like books, you don't like, you like books, I don't like. It's no one's fault. It's just me and how I feel. I mean no disrespect, like I said, to authors, readers who love this book. And now let's get on to the video. The first one is Season of Storms by Andrzej Sapkowski. It is, well, it's kind of like it's not a short story by any means, but it is a story in the Witcher universe. This book in particular is a little different to the main series, right? The main series follows Geralt as he realizes that humans are more the monsters than the monsters are themselves. So this one doesn't really follow that. It follows Geralt as he tries to find his tools and his weapons because someone has stolen them. And the reason why I DNF'd it is because it was so different. So different to the main series. Even the little short story collections that come before the main series, it was just a very different vibe for me. There's like a lot of burping and farting in the first little section of the book, and it just, do you really need it? It's a bodily function. I know stuff like that happens, but does it need to be said this often? I don't know. It did actually get to a good part, right? It started to get a little bit more political, but the beginning part felt so different and off to me that I just decided to DNF it. I just wasn't a fan of it, but because of the fact that it started to get really interesting and a little bit more political, I will be giving this another chance. This one is definitely in the yes pile. I really do like this universe and this world that Andrzej Sapkowski has written. Like, if it's a part of the universe, you know, I do want to read it. I do want to see how Geralt gets his tools and his weapons back that make him the Witcher. I then have 3 Hours by Rosamund Lipton. This one follows a group of kids in a school who are recently under a shooting. So there's a shooter at large, and the kids are trying to escape. It follows points of views from like the teachers, the cops, like the police officers trying to figure out who the shooter is, and also I believe the teachers, I think, as well. The reason why I DNF'd it, look, I do think it's an important book to read about. It was just not for me. It was very slow. I thought that some of the characters made stupid decisions, especially in something as horrifying as a school shootings. They may just, like, why? You're a stupid idiot. Why would you do that? But anyway, like, I understand, like, just being scared and wanting to protect your brother and sister and other people, other kids, but no, not for me. It was a bit slow, actually a lot slow, which would be realistic, I guess, because it would take a little bit of time to actually figure out who this person that's doing the shooting is. It just wasn't for me, unfortunately. But because of the subject matter, I do think it is a bit of an important book to read. One Day by David Nichols. This one follows 2 people, a man and a woman. I can't remember the names for the life of me. And they've been friends since college. And it kind of goes back and forth between the past and the present, I believe. And it's kind of like a love story of sorts. It's kind of like them trying to get together, I believe, if I remember correctly. And again, so dense, so slow. I don't mind a dense book. There has to be something in a book that is dense for me to enjoy. I do not enjoy this book. The male character is a bit of a dick. I don't like him. The female, I guess she's okay. Like, I guess she's fine. She was there on the page. Yeah, this one is a no. I'm not going to be rereading it, and I have spoiled myself for it, which I'm okay to do if I DNF'd it and I'm not enjoying it. I'm okay to spoil the ending for myself. Yeah, so I know how it ends. And what a horrible ending. Seriously. But guess it's kind of like a you gotta take your chances when they come kind of thing. This next book I'm about to tell you was also incredibly boring, and nothing to do with the author at all, like nothing at all. It's You Love Me, You, book number 3 in the series by Caroline Kepnes. The series as a whole follows Joe Goldberg, and he has this really crazy stalkerish, creepy, scary obsession with women that he locks eyes onto. Like really, that's the series. And he bounces between women and women, and if he can't have them, no one can have him. I hate Joe Goldberg. I don't like this series. Like, I like the first 2, but this third one made me realize, this third one was really driving me up the wall. I tried watching the show, made me feel very uncomfortable. Don't like the show at all. And this one is like a definite no. I think you can tell by my tone. I don't have too much more to say about it. I will read more from Caroline Kepnes. I'm not saying no about that. Just this series, just this character that I fucking hate with a passion. I don't understand why Joe Goldberg is so loved so much. I really don't. But anyway, each to their own. We then have the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. It is the first book in the Broken Earth? Yeah, I was going to say Broken Binding, but the Broken Earth trilogy. And this one follows a mother who I think she's trying to find her son or something like that. Is she? No, I think I'm getting confused with something else. This woman who has the ability to make earthquakes, and there was a big earthquake that happened, right? And she's basically driven out. Even though she wasn't the one that did the earthquake, she still has the ability to create earthquakes. So she's kind of like driven out. I think that's it. I think that's it. So, as you can tell, I don't know too much about it. Only because not much happened. All of the reviews I have read about this book said, you gotta give it a chance. You gotta stick it out. It will make sense towards the end. Well, I was 50% into the book, and nothing was really happening. Well, for my liking, because everyone has hyped up this book and this series so bloody much, I'm like, well, something's got to be good about it. No. I'm kind of conflicted, because up to the point where I had gotten, there was a little bit of an interesting thing that happened. But has it taken too long for me to want to continue on with it? I don't know. I do want to give it another chance though, because I've heard this is a very good book. I've heard the first one is a lot better, and the series just kind of goes like plummets, like boom. Like the first one was a lot of people's favorites, and then the rest of it just kind of like plummeted after that. But we'll see. We'll see if I actually enjoy it this time when I get around to reading it again. The Toll, which is the 3rd and final book in the Arc of a Scythe trilogy by Neil Shusterman. It follows a world where no one dies, everyone's immortal, there's no war, there's no famine, there's no diseases, there's kind of like these like nano things in your skin that help you with your immortality. But the problem with that is that there's a bit of an overpopulation problem. So there are these there's this society called the Scythes, which are tasked to cull the population at like a reasonable number. Like, the series is good. I think I was just focusing on the wrong thing. At the time that I was reading this book, a lot of people were saying that Citra and Rowan were a really good couple, and Citra and Rowan are kind of like the 2 main characters, and that Citra and Rowan were a really good couple, and that I kept hearing that everywhere, and I was thinking, no, they're not. They're really not. Their voices kind of just sounded the same to me. And towards the end of it, like I read the first 2, right, and I really enjoyed the series. I really enjoyed the first 2 books. Just towards the end, in this, the 3rd one, it was kind of driving me up the wall a little bit. I don't think I'm alone in that, because I know a lot of people do not like this 3rd book, but I want to see how it ends, you know. Like, I've read it up to now, and I want to see how it ends. I want to see what's going to happen, because I believe the Thunderhead, which is this artificial intelligence that looks over people, right? It's the government over the people. I want to see how that ended up because it seemed like it had an important role to play. I don't know, maybe I'm in the right headspace for it now that I'm a little older and with a little bit more patience. I do want to give it another go because Neil Shusterman's writing is really good. I just need to see how this ends. I really do. And I do know that there is like a short story collection called Gleanings, I believe it is. So I do want to check that out as well if I do end up really enjoying this third one. Get a Life, Chloe Brown, which is the first book in the Brown Sisters trilogy by Talia Hibbert. Look, this one's going to be a bit of a controversial one. I'm aware of that. So this one follows, oh god, it's like a slow burn romance between two people, Chloe Brown and Red, and they kind of have this enemies to lovers thing going on. I did not like it. I didn't like the chemistry. I did not like the characters. The sisters drove me up the wall. They had this really pompous way of talking that like, darling, darling, that really drove me up the wall. I don't like that kind of pompous talking, depending on the pompous kind of talking, but I think I have to like the characters for that, but I do not like the characters for that. So, yeah, this one's going to be a no for me. However, I really do like the disability representation in this. I thought it was really good. Red was such a gentleman with Chloe Brown. It was really beautiful, that was. Just, this is a no for me. I've heard that each book can be read as a standalone, so maybe I should give it another go, but I don't know. I don't really want to. On Earth, We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. It's like a letter from a son to a mother about, yeah, it's like a son writing a letter to his mother about the shit that he went through and what she did to him. I'm pretty sure. The writing did not gel for me with this one, which is why this one is a no. So if the writing is not going to gel with me, the writing is not going to gel with me. It was just so convoluted. There were so many, it was kind of jumping around a bit too much, and I guess if you're writing a letter, it would be a little bit sporadic. I don't know what I'm talking about. I mean no disrespect to the author. I don't think this author is for me. It was just a bit too convoluted, a bit too messy. Nothing was really coherent, and some things kind of like contradicted each other. Unless it was different stages throughout his life, and that's why I was thinking it was so convoluted. Like him being 16, he would write about this. Him being at 12, he would write about that, but I don't know, like I feel like it could have been written a little bit better. The very last list of Vivian Walker, it follows a mother who was dying of terminal cancer, and she writes her last list to get her affairs in order. The main character drove me up the wall, don't like her, which is sad because you would think being a book about someone dying of terminal cancer, you think it would be more of a reminiscent, like thinking about her life. You'd think, I don't know, you'd think it'd be a bit better than it just being bland and boring. It was just a bit of a no-no for me. The main character's husband, like his and her relationship, oh my gosh. Terrible, what the hell? How did they stay married for that long? That kid that they had was the glue. My goodness. Yeah, as you can tell by my tone, it's a no. I'm not going to be reading this again. I do know how it ends. It is a little sad, but I just did not like that. I did not like no. Ooh. In my wrap-up, I talk about how this female main character threw out her husband's Star Wars memorabilia and Star Wars collection. If you know anything about Star Wars, or if you don't know anything about Star Wars, don't throw out any collectibles, especially if they're rare, because they could be worth hundreds of thousands, if not tens of thousands, if not even thousands of dollars. Star Wars is such a big franchise. Well, why would you touch your own partner's stuff like that? That is so rude and inconsiderate. Why not talk to your partner about it, huh? I know my parents and I talk about stuff. Like, we're like, oh, I don't know if I really need this. Do I really need it? Well, do you need it for this or that? No. Okay, well, give it away then. You don't throw it without talking about it. That really drove me up the wall. That was actually the last line. I crossed the line and I just said no. Everything else was a no. it wasn't for me, unfortunately. The last book, maybe we're going to end on a bit of a positive note here. The Night of the Mannequins by Stephen Graham Jones. It follows a group of people who try to prank their friend who works in a movie theater by putting a mannequin, like, sitting on one of the seats just to scare the living daylights out of their friend. But something really creepy happens because the mannequin decides to get up on its own accord and get out of the theater. I did DNF it, only because there were some things that made me think it was a little bit predictable. There's nothing wrong with Stephen Graham Jones' writing. I like his writing and I do want to read more of his books. It's just this book in particular did not gel with me at that point. I just thought it was a little bit predictable with some of the things that happened. And it just, at that point, it wasn't for me, but this book still kind of intrigues me a little bit, like, how was it going to end? It was my birthday on that day, and I may have had no, I did have a bit of alcohol. There's no may have about it. I did have a bit of alcohol, and I was kind of sleepy, so I think that contributed to me not liking it. But maybe. This could be a maybe. That's the video. We do have some books. Most of them are no, because once I DNF a book, there's got to be something about it that I just don't like. Even if I'm not enjoying a book, there'll be something about it that will usually want to keep me reading. There are books that I am still intrigued and interested in reading, like reading again. I think I'm happy with my selection with the books that I have said yes and no to. I do feel like I have a pretty good idea on the books that I do, on the books that I like to read and the books I want to finish. So hopefully the more I read, the more I know my taste better. But I think out of the books I have read over the 4 years, 9 books are DNF'd is actually pretty good. But thank you for watching if you have. And let me know down below, have you read any of these books I have DNF'd? Did you enjoy them? And let me know what books you have DNF'd that are not on this list. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video, and now it's time to get reading.